Fancy college degrees. It's as if you can shut down any single argument by stating that you have a degree from an Ivy League school. In this video, I want to discuss my opinion and experience with various people who either don't have a college degree at all or have that fancy Ivy League education. There was this person at work, a really smart guy who actually taught me a lot of stuff about my job, about programming, about a correct way to approach software design. And this person went to NYU for exactly one semester. So he was clearly smart enough that he got accepted into NYU, which is one of the better schools in this country, in the United States. So he spent exactly one semester there, and then he got a job at Microsoft, and he never came back. So this person does not have a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. However, that fact did not stop him from being a very successful professional, because he was able to self-educate himself, to read all the necessary technical literature. He's very well read, very well spoken. He, as far as I can tell you, he's smarter than most developers that I've encountered over the years. And that's the thing. The fact that you have a college diploma of any kind does not give you a right to tell somebody else that you are therefore superior, because it's all about self-motivation. And a disclaimer here is that you can't really be a doctor or a lawyer if you're self-taught, but some profession like computer science, if you know what to do, if you're self-disciplined, if you know what to read, you can teach yourself. And you can be way better and more successful than people who have master's degrees, PhDs, and whatever in computer science. I actually think that when it comes to computer science, what's most important is not the degree, it's the experience. It's the companies you've worked for. And if you need some kind of an official piece of paper, then getting certified by Microsoft holds a lot more value than these degrees. But anyway, so that's one outlier that I've encountered. And then I always used to have this sort of a complex when I was applying to colleges. I didn't get into NYU or Columbia or any one of those fancy schools, and I always consequently had this complex that I'm not smart enough. But I can tell you that I've crossed paths with various people who did graduate from Columbia, and I can tell you, I can't generalize, but a lot of them that I've crossed paths with are not that smart. For example, I dated this girl who now has a PhD in some literature stuff from Columbia. And when we talked, she had not even read basic literature classics that everybody has read in high school, like War and Peace, Crime and Punishment, 1984, Les Miserables. Like, what the hell has she been learning? So I just don't want to hear this stuff like, oh, I have a MBA from Harvard, therefore shut up because I know better. It's not really, it doesn't give you any right to shut other people's opinion down just because you have that piece of paper. And as I've been saying, I've seen some pretty dumb people. Here's another example. Not talking about smart or dumb, When I was 26, I was a manager at my company. I was managing a team, and a guy who used to report to me has a degree from Harvard. So he graduated from Harvard in 1982. So he must have been around 53 at that time. Just goes to show you a Harvard graduate reporting to me, and I was only 26, and my degree was from a state college. So it doesn't really mean anything. Like, you're just immediately supposed to just climb the societal ladder and just supposed to be put on this pedestal just because you have Ivy League education, you know? And one more point. I've encountered this like-mindedness from all these Ivy League schools, because they are predominantly liberal, something like 73% liberal. And here's my other analogy. You know, if you grow up in a Jewish or Catholic or Muslim family, chances are you're more than likely to grow up as Jewish, Catholic, or Muslim, because you are not only exposed to these religions, for example, but you don't know anything else. So similarly, when kids go to college, their minds, their brains are very malleable, and they're very, very much susceptible to brainwashing and indoctrination. So if, it's like you pretty much, when you're 18, you think you have opinions, but you're pretty much, your mind is a blank slate. So you go to a college, a university, where everybody pretty much thinks alike. And chances are you're more likely than not going to think like the rest of them. So, in conclusion, what I'm telling all of this for is that all these people who claim intellectual superiority just because they went to an Ivy League school, therefore their opinion is more valid, is a completely false statement. Number one, education is important, but where you got that education is not important. Meaning that you can have two people with the same amount of knowledge. One person obtained it through paying lots and lots of money and going to college, and the other person obtained the same exact knowledge from reading various books, publications. It does not mean that one is superior than the other, right? So why all of that? I just recently somebody posted a picture from Twitter from Tom Morello with his F Trump, and somebody said, "Oh, another musician is becoming a political expert," and then Tom Morello bragged about him being an honors student at Harvard University. It's a completely, yes, I mean, sure, it's impressive, but it's a completely BS statement that the fact that Tom Morello went to a predominantly liberal school, that he is intellectually superior, and therefore everybody else's opinions are invalid because he went to Harvard, because he's so smart. But in fact, as I just said, going to an Ivy League school is not an indication of the person being smarter than somebody who didn't go to Harvard or an Ivy League school, and the fact that he was brewing in this liberal uh, in this liberal soup means that he doesn't know anything better. He didn't know anything better because he had no choice but to absorb all of that liberalism. Yeah, there you go.